Good afternoon and welcome out to Touchdown Alley. This is the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. I'm Brooke Bednarz alongside Derek Smith and none other than the voice of the Bears, John Morris.
Great timing.
Great timing.
Way to go, Brooke.
What a welcome.
We just heard the fireworks as the team is making their way from the hotel out here to McLean Stadium. The Bear Walk, that's the sign for everybody to head that way. It's shortly. Can you guys imagine that we are here? This is crazy. It's like I've said this morning, we've been talking about it since June is when we started talking about this show, and to have it finally here back at McLean, out here on Touchdown Alley with all the fans and in front of a full crowd.
A full crowd to be out here amongst everybody. It's been a long time coming. You know, I had to think back to the UT game in 2019, the last time we had a normal home game, and now here we are. You got a great Baylor crowd around us. Love the new location. You know, Brooke, you and the Baylor Vision team, a lot of people, Casey, and put a lot of work into this. It's going to be a great setting to get people ready for home games.
Absolutely.
In our location, we're out in Touchdown Alley. You can see by the backdrop behind us, so come see us. We're on the edge of the turf that is here. This turf, by the way, was brought here from Floyd Casey Stadium.
Yes, I just learned that actually
nice
this summer.
So that's where we are, and we'll be here every home game 2 hours before kickoff. So it is fun to be back out here and see so much activity in Touchdown Alley after it was Zippo last year.
Oh, my goodness, I know. And just seeing everyone walking around and no masks.
Yeah.
It's a hot day today, so no mask. Everyone out here ready to cheer on the Bears as they arrive to McLean Stadium here shortly. Let's talk a little bit about the success of last week. You guys were both there. You called it. What'd you see from the Bears last week as they won 29-20 over Texas State?
It was a win, which
is
good.
A win.
So you start with that.
Can't
right?
beat that.
Yeah, and plenty to work on when they went back to work. But that's not all bad. You know, they got to get on the field, and then you learn so much from playing an actual game. You know, you always hear that teams make their most improvement between game 1 and game 2, and there's a lot to that because you get on the field, you're playing somebody else, and you learn a lot about yourself in the process. So I think Baylor will be better today because of having played that game. Penalties is a thing Coach Aranda talked about all week. Really hurt Baylor last week, 11 for 99 yards last week. So that'll be an area I can almost guarantee you will be better this evening.
What about you?
I was impressed with the running game and that they ran it 45 times. Gary Bohannon ran just 4 times. So they really put the onus on the line and the running backs to control the game. Coach Aranda said that, meeting with the media, that he wanted the team to control the line of scrimmage. He referred to that as part of establishing their fastball, and that's really what they did. Texas State knew Baylor was going to run the ball a lot of plays, and Baylor was still effective in doing so. And I thought that was really nice because obviously that was an area they struggled a bit last year.
Well, Texas Southern's coming into Waco after a 17-40 loss to Prairie View A&M. They have a young freshman quarterback. This will be just his second collegiate game. So what are you kind of seeing from them? What do you expect this game to look like?
You know, I'm gonna almost plead the fifth here and say this game's more about Baylor than it is their opponent. Texas Southern, Baylor's never played Texas Southern before. First meeting all time. In fact, first meeting ever for Baylor against a SWAC school.
Exactly,
in football. We played SWAC schools in basketball a lot, but first meeting ever there. But that's not to dodge your question, but to more so say Baylor wants to get on the field, correct what they didn't do so well last week, and just play a much cleaner game tonight.
Truthfully, and focus on what they can control.
Yeah, building on what they did last week, I'm excited to see Gary Bohannon, who had a very solid first start, build on that. You know, he threw a touchdown, we now know, that wasn't credited as such, but he'll get an opportunity for that today, and they were close on a couple of those deep balls. I'm excited to see him build on what was a very solid first start.
Well, and we would be remiss if we did not take a moment to recognize what today is, the 20th anniversary of 9/11. We'll dive into what this game is for the Bears a little bit later on, but we truthfully want to take a moment to recognize all that Baylor has done this week and will do today at the game to recognize, what today means for all the families and the first responders of those 20 years ago in New York City. A couple of things. The Patton F. Tower has been lit up red, white, and blue since Thursday night, I think, every night since then. Tonight, there will be a full field size flag presented by the Baylor Vets program here with all servicemen and women holding that flag out there. So for me, that's something really special. Did you hear about the stair step challenge that all our students got to participate in at the McLean Student Life Center?
Yes, and I'm impressed by what they did. Yeah, and that's a neat way to kind of tie in just what a lot of people in New York City had to go through, climbing 110, the equivalent of 110 flights of stairs, for the students to experience what that would have been like for the people who had to do that at the World Trade Center.
Absolutely. And then what about those helmets?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The decal, we'll look close at the BU on the green helmet tonight. It's going to be an American flag BU on the helmet, and that is really sharp. I mean, we can't do enough to say thanks to first responders to keep the memory alive of the folks who lost their lives and their families. So that's going to be a big part, I think, of the night tonight.
Absolutely. Well, we're definitely looking forward to those special moments, and we'll be back with more of the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show in just a bit.
Back with us from Touchdown Alley as we continue on the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. If you can see over our shoulders behind us, the team has arrived. They are unloading. It's the Bear Walk. It's a pretty good shot. The Bear Walk commencing right now, headed into the stadium. We'll kick it off at 6 o'clock tonight, a little under 2 hours from now, Baylor and Texas Southern. Welcome back, and we've been joined by a legend. I mean, a verified legend. Philip Kent Sr. is with us. Welcome to you, and congratulations on the honor.
Thank you so much. Glad to be back home.
Yes. Philip will be recognized as our Kelly Realtors B Association Legend of the Game tonight. You, of course, were part of that 74 Baylor Southwest Conference Championship team. I'm not going to say how many years ago that was, but it's a great memory, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We fought real hard to get to where we wanted to be, and it was actually a miracle on the brasses.
It really was. It really was. Coach Taft doesn't necessarily like that because he says it wasn't a miracle. You guys worked to earn that. What do you remember going in? What was the mindset of the team going into that 74 season?
Well, we had a great coach, a great coaching staff, and Coach Taft, he believed in us, and he wanted us to believe in ourselves, and so we took that and ran with it, and the results, speak for itself.
Right. There are, there's still pictures around of the scoreboard when you beat Texas 34-24. What a day, coming from 24-7 down to win that game.
Yeah, a lot of the Baylor Bears had left the stadium, but they didn't know that we wasn't going to give up, and we was in our backyard, and so certainly it was a great night. I recall that very vividly, and especially I ran the last touchdown during that game.
That's right.
So I was really excited. I had good blocking, and we just put things together and did what we had to do to win the game.
We're out here this year. It's a new location for our show. Last year we didn't even get to have the Legends on as a guest for our show because of COVID and the pandemic and everything. But to be out here, to be back at Baylor for yourself, and to hear this crowd behind us welcoming the team right as you're sitting here, what is it like for you to be back here? All the emotions.
Oh yeah, it's very exciting. I am extremely happy and delighted to be back in Waco, Texas. My wife is here with me. My sons is here with me, and my granddaughter. And so we all a Baylor family, and so we're just so excited. Could not wait to get here. Yeah.
Philip, that 1974 team, the Miracle on the Brazos, is what those of us who weren't here to see that happen is what everyone knows about. But for those of us beyond that one game, what stands out to you about what made that team special, or what forged that team into a championship team?
Well, we didn't give up. We kept playing. Texas A&M beat us, and then of course Texas beat Texas A&M, and that helped us to get into the Cotton Bowl and all those things. So it was just an exciting year. We just respect each other and respect our coaches, and we believed in ourselves. And when you do that, and you do those right things, then good things happen.
Philip, tell everybody you're down in Houston now. What are you doing? What are you doing these days?
I'm in Houston. I am really a retired,
there you go.
Rehired associate teacher. I
retired,
retired, rehired. I'm back on the campus that I graduated from, Booker T. Washington High School, and I've been in the independent school district for 35 years.
Very nice.
And so I'm just doing what I do. Enjoying my wife for 50 years.
Wow, congratulations.
And so
Congrats.
we're so excited.
What are you teaching?
Well, I'm an associate teacher, and so
Okay.
wherever they need me, that's where
Utility player.
Yeah,
I
right.
like it.
Yeah, I've paid my dues as far as teaching.
Well, congratulations. We're really happy for you. It's great to have you back here, and congratulations on being selected the legend for the game tonight.
Well, thank you, and it's certainly a great honor.
Very good.
I am appreciative.
Philip Kent Sr., one of Baylor's all-time greats. He is the B Association Kelly Realtors Legend of the Game. Hey, like those pictures coming back, huh?
Yeah, my son told me that somebody called him and said, we know you're going to become a legend. He said, not with that uniform on.
No.
That is great. That is great. Congratulations. Thanks for
Yes.
coming
Thank you
out.
so much.
All right.
My pleasure.
All right, we will be back with more of the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show right after this.
And we welcome you back to the shadows of McLean Stadium, Touchdown Alley, getting ready for the 2021 home opener between Baylor and Texas Southern today. And as we welcome you back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show, pleased to bring in now Elliot Coffey. We'll be talking a little Baylor defense here momentarily. But as we do over the course of this program, we want to let you know a little bit more about what the program's been building towards, what it means to be a great person, becoming a great player. And one man who knows all about that is Ed Jones. Ed is the Assistant Athletic Director for Player Development with this team. What does that mean? He sat down and visited with Brooke Bednarz to explain.
I'm here with Ed Jones II, Assistant AD for Player Development. Ed, thanks for taking the time to visit with us today to dive into phrases that we are hearing and have been hearing now since this football season kind of really kicked off over the summer. Things like the Baylor Standard and Be Uncommon. So thanks for taking the time to kind of dive into that with us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about the Baylor Standard. I know that kind of started with when you came here, and that has developed into, we hear Be Uncommon. That's a hashtag that's on all the social media content. So to Be Uncommon kind of is the Baylor Standard, and we'll dive into all those different aspects, but just overarching, tell us a little bit about the Baylor Standard.
So the Baylor Standard, when I got here, Coach Aranda was introducing it. We sat down, talked about it, different things like that. It's really spearheaded by Coach, but it's our standard of performance. Whatever we do on the field, off the field, in life, academically, socially, as players, physically, everything we're doing, there's a standard. So it's our Baylor standard of performance. And so Coach has, we call it a pyramid. And the top of it, everything we do in our program builds up to this standard of performance. So as we improve, increase, become closer together as a team, we all get to this Baylor standard of performance.
So things like, we're hearing a lot of diving into the person over player. That's something that's really resonated with the players.
So that's something I really, really enjoy. On my interview talking to Coach, I was like, is this is real? Like, especially my role, I'm player development, working with student athletes off the field. So when you come into a program and the head coach is telling you, hey, I want to dive into the players.
This is important.
This is important. Coach says it all the time. Football is a part of who they are. We don't want guys to just get lost in I am a football player. You play football, you're good at it, and we want you to be great at it. We don't want to take that away. We want you to be great at football. We want our team to be great at football. We want to win championships, all the stuff that comes with being great. We don't want to lose you in the process.
Better people make better players. That's something else that we hear, diving into. And then also winning with character and the importance of that. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about kind of how that has gone from just a concept, but actually being portrayed in fall camp and now into the season?
Yeah, so like you said, better people make better players. That's on our wall, you walk down our halls, and then winning with character is above that. Winning with character, that goes to life, right? There's gonna be adversity in life. There's gonna be adversity on the field. Things are not always gonna go your way, right? But if you take care of everything with character, if your integrity, the class, the way you go about things, being there for others, right? One of the best things I heard actually recently here in fall camp was a scout actually came and talked about a couple of our players. He said, I don't even need you to really fully go through a character profile. I can see their character on the field as they play. And it blew me away. And I said, what do you mean by that? He says they care about their teammates. They care, they enjoy their teammates, and they go out there and they give everything they have. You can see they love what they do. They love being around people, and they love seeing people succeed. So to me, when I hear that from NFL scouts, they're seeing it off the tape. It's like I get to see it every single day, so that's winning with character.
We'll kind of go into and kind of wrap up here with the phrase Be Uncommon. That's something that everyone's going to be able to recognize throughout the year. It's not going away, but to be uncommon is the Baylor Standard. And would you say that all of these different aspects are what makes up, someone to be uncommon, and that's what all these Baylor football players are? Absolutely.
So, Be Uncommon is something we really use it a lot in recruiting. So it's for our fans, but for our student athletes or prospective student athletes that we are recruiting, to let them know when you come here, it's going to be uncommon. This experience is going to be uncommon. You will have success on the field. You will have success in the classroom. You will have success off the field. That's uncommon. That's not like most student athletes have it around the college football experience. And so that is what it is. And it's also letting our fans know that, hey, this university, this city, we're uncommon. It's awesome, like the Tailgating. I mean, you could just go all the way down. I get here and I'm like, holy smokes, we Tailgate. The stadium's incredible. what's happening here with our program, our athletic department, the university, the city, like this is, you have opportunity to be uncommon. The experience you get here will not be like any experience anywhere else.
We sailgate, we tailgate show out here on Touchdown Alley. Just a lot of different aspects of the way that this Baylor community, this Baylor family, the Baylor football program is uncommon, be uncommon. One of those main aspects of being uncommon is really focusing on the person over player. One thing Ed said after the interview was that, you live 85 years, let's say. You come to Baylor, you play 4 to 5 years. You go in the NFL, you play for 10 years. What are you going to do with those 50 other years of your life?
Yeah.
And, so really honing in on not just what it means to be an athlete, but a person. So what are your thoughts on the Baylor standard?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of goes back to how you do anything is how you do everything. Right? And so the things that you learn here, whether it's in summer workouts or whether it's in practice on a Wednesday when you're in full pads and you're tired and it's hot outside, there's things that you learn about life that are going to translate to every aspect of what you do, how you love your family members, how you work once you're in a career outside of this, how you interact with people on a day-to-day basis. You learn some fundamental things here about that. And so when I hear be uncommon, what they're expected to do isn't normal. This is completely different. This is hard stuff, and what these guys are learning here today, like I said, is going to carry into every aspect of their lives.
Well, we had that interview to kind of introduce to you all what Be Uncommon is, and we will have the first of the Be Uncommon video series right after this.
Person over player means that we're focused on creating better people off the field, and in turn that will eventually lead to success on the field.
First and foremost, we're in the business of making kids come off high school and create them into great men of God, just men of the Word. That winning games is something that comes after learning about yourself, who you are, and developing as a man off the field.
So person over player to Baylor football means investing in the people over the player, because eventually the player will benefit from the person that is being invested into. And so as we improve off the field, we'll see all of those improvements on the field in discipline and character and integrity and accountability.
Person over player means that we're just all more than athletes, us, the coaches, the trainers, we carry ourselves with a certain standard, and they care about us as a person more than us as a player. So to me, that makes Baylor special and better than any other place in the country.
A lot of high-caliber guys on this team. We can certainly be proud and represent Baylor University as his student-athletes. And as you can see and heard earlier with Ed Jones, that's not an accident. We welcome you back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show from Touchdown Alley, counting you down to Baylor and Texas Southern. And for Baylor this season, as you look at what they can do, the defense is obviously going to have a lot to say about how far this team goes, building on some really a strength the last couple of years, as we're joined now by Elliot Coffey. And Elliot, we'll talk about the trenches, but I want to talk about a guy we just saw on the video there, the Uncommon video, Terrell Bernard.
Yeah.
Missed part of last year, late last year with a shoulder injury. He's back this year. Real difference maker for the defense.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't think he was coming back. And so it's exciting to see somebody with that level of talent, the level of dedication that he has coming back. You see and you feel his presence known. I think he had, 2.5 tackles for loss, including a sack and a half out there last week. And so a guy that just goes out there and makes play after play in crucial moments. I don't think it can be overstated how much of a presence and how much of a difference maker he is on the football field. And so glad to have him back.
When you watch this defense, it's kind of like just a band of brothers out there.
Yeah.
You know, they get super hyped for each other. That all kind of stems from that take three phrase that we really dove into last year. But we saw it already happening against Texas State down in San Marcos. They had the take three. It started with J.T. Woods right there. You see it, a pick six. That's how we got onto the board first. So already seeing that impact of this defense making a big difference for the Bears.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look at, offensively, this is a new offensive coordinator. This is a new quarterback coming in. There were still some growing pains figuring out on the offensive side. And so for us to go out after a turnover and create points on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, you saw what happened at the end of the fourth quarter. That was a game-changing play that we made right there. And so those 3 turnovers, it puts us in a position to win.
And starting up at the front, everything starts up at the front for this D-line. We have a new transfer from LSU, Apu Ika. The way Coach Aranda describes him is the potential to be dangerous and reckless.
Yeah.
Going to make teams make the decision of leaving him alone and risking he get to your quarterback, or you're going to have to double him, which is going to leave someone else free to rush the quarterback from the side. What have you seen from him so far? Coach Aranda did say he believes he could play better than he did against Texas State, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, there's a star power to him. I think, early on, you saw the ability for him to take 2 gaps like it's nothing, right? I think you did see him either get a little tired or maybe lose his focus a little bit later in the game. But, I mean, if you watched that game on Thursday with the Cowboys and you saw what Vita Vea did to that Cowboys offensive line, that's the kind of thing that he can do, is get in the middle and just disrupt everything, throw off timing, and really be kind of a force in the middle of the defense. And so I see a ton of potential. Of course, it didn't look that way towards the end of the game, but I'm excited to see what he does out here today.
How do fans, Elliott, judge his performance? He's going to have those games where he has 3 tackles behind the line, a scrimmage, or he's just swelling up running backs. Other games, that's not necessarily going to be the case, but he's still going to have an impact. So how do we judge that?
I think you look at how the guys behind him play. And so you see how many open looks the linebackers have. You see how often they are making tackles for losses, because his stat line should not be his numbers. You will see a couple tackles for losses and sacks in there, but really it's the linebackers and it's any safety that's playing in the box should be able to tell you how well he's playing.
Absolutely. We also have a new corners coach, Kevin Curtis, from just up I-35 SMU. So we will see what his defense and his secondary looks like for the first time here at McLean. We will have more diving into the offense with our offensive analyst, Seth Russell, when we get back from the break, as we continue to break down and prepare for this game, Bears versus Texas Southern at 6 o'clock. Welcome back out to Touchdown Alley. We are now joined with former quarterback Seth Russell here to dive into the offensive side of things and to talk about none other than our new quarterback, Gary Bohannon, as he makes his first start in front of a home crowd here, a full crowd at McLean Stadium. But before we talk about Gary, we went back and we visited with two other former quarterbacks to hear what their first starts were like for the Bears.
Griff, tears his knee in the first half, but plays through halftime. And at that point, we had a pretty large lead, and so Griff at halftime gets evaluated. I remember the other quarterback in the room with me was Brody Trahan, who was a true freshman. And so Blake Zemansky's the backup, and I remember in the locker room, Brody looks at me and goes, "Man, you realize that, if Zemansky gets hurt, one of us is going in." And then sure enough, Blake separates his shoulder in the second half. And so two starters go down, his star player and Griff, and then the senior veteran backup separates his shoulder. And he's got two freshmen to choose from. Luckily, I've had a little more reps. But the first thing he says to me, which is a real confidence booster for any coaches out there that are listening, look at a player going in for the first time and ask them this question: Trick, do you know the plays? But then on the other end of the equation, Coach Montgomery, it's like a 30-plus point game, realizes my first start. And he calmly tells me to look up at the scoreboard and see, the gap and how much we're ahead. And he goes, "You can't screw up." The first start, really what I remember is I was thankful we weren't in Big 12 play yet, which was the next week at Oklahoma, who had the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in Sam Bradford. And so it was Kent State. But the negative piece of it is the weather was supposed to be bad and it was raining. I don't think I threw any touchdown passes, but I did run two. I don't remember the short one. I remember the longer run. It was like 30 yards or something, and it was a zone read, and I came around the corner and then things kind of opened up. And I remember it because I was like in complete shock, because I just, again, trying to do your job. That's all you're trying to do every play. What am I supposed to do here? Read the end, pull it out, run. And then it was just like the Red Sea parted. And I'm not the fastest guy in the world. And so being able to score, it was like one of those moments of like, whoa, like what just happened?
So there's a lot of good thoughts going into that first game at Floyd Casey as the starter in 2013. And that was what being the backup and learning that role and being accepting of that role made that moment that much sweeter. It was like, okay, this is what this was all for. And now I just get to go out and have fun. I've done all the work, I've waited, I've been patient. Now I just get to go out and have fun and put it all out there. And so there was a lot of nerves kind of at that first, when you run out of the tunnel, you get a kickoff, and then, you jog out there. And then after the first snap, then it's just playing ball. And I remember being a little bit nervy at the first snap, which was interesting because we had, 3 kind of short, quick passes, which was good for me. Just kind of, okay, let's do something that I know I can do, kind of like the back of my hand and settle down. The first touchdown, I think, you never really forget, especially when you've, spent that much time to get there and not just be on a practice field anymore or in a net when you're by yourself. Like a little kid in the driveway shooting hoops, he's always shooting the three-pointer at the buzzer. And so when you actually get to do that, it was just as sweet as what I kind of dreamt it to be the whole time. So especially to my guy, Antoine, and we had a similar story, Mr. Midland, Texas, but, similar story of we had to wait. He was behind. Our quarterback room was pretty dang good. Our receiver room was really good. So to have it, go to him and put up, 6 points for us is my first passing touchdown, and then, first game to kind of, again, execute and go out there and do what we need to do.
Boy, some classic video there of Nick Florence and Bryce Petty talking about their first starts. Brooke Bednar's digging into the archives for that good stuff. So now, Seth Russell, let's look back to September 6th, 2014, a little over 7 years ago now. Your first start against Northwestern State. Tell us how that first came about, first of all.
Yeah, so with Bryson, there was some injuries that happened with him early on in the season, and he was kind of fighting through it. I think he fought through the next game. It was just like, hey, just try to figure out if it makes sense for him to play. We were going against Northwestern State, and in the film room, I think we decided, halfway through the week, I can't remember exactly, that coach came up to me. He was like, "You're the guy this week." I was kind of frazzled a little bit, but I was excited because that's what I've been working for. But the day before the game, we were sitting in the film room, and he turns and looks at me. He was like, "Just go out there and prove why you should be out there." And so I went out, and history was made.
I would say he proved why he should. Let's just read those because he's not going to tell you. He threw for 438 yards and 5 touchdowns, both of which were Baylor records for a half. Yes, those were in the first half alone, and you only played in the first half because you guys were up by so much already. So to hear those stats and to kind of go back, hear a couple of your touchdowns, I mean, what is it like to see that and to remember that moment?
Well, all quarterbacks say it's the team around them, right? I mean, those guys, Katie Cannon, all of them were just the offensive line. I mean, I could stand back there. Grandma could throw 5 touchdowns in the first half. So, just from that team that year did such a great job, and just coming around and supporting me just hey, going out there and play. Just play football. I mean, this is what we've been doing in practices is go out and execute. We're going against a team that was a good team that year, and we just we didn't stop, right? We laid it on them pretty early, and that's where our offense really thrived was jumping on a team early, first half. Had a few yards thrown and a few touchdowns here or there, and luckily our defense, right? I mean, kept them out of the game, and we were able to make some history that first half.
Well, one thing that separates you from the other quarterbacks that we just heard from was that your first start was actually here at McLean. It was the second ever game played here at McLean. So your thoughts on playing here and then Gary Bohannon having his first start here in front of a home crowd?
Yeah, it's there's nothing like it. I mean, the home crowd is amazing at what y'all do, and for Gary, it's just have fun, enjoy it, embrace the moment. You're gonna have some nerves. That's just part of it. Get hit, throw a few passes, hand the ball off. Hey, once that first drive is going, just sink in, enjoy it, because you only get one first start at McLean, and so he's a great dude. He's a great quarterback, and he's gonna lead the team to do great things this year.
Yes, he is. We will talk more about the Bears offense and Gary Bohannon right after this break. Welcome back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. I'm Brooke Bednarz, Derek Smith, and Seth Russell. We just talked a little bit about Gary Bohannon and the fact that this will be his first start for the Bears at quarterback in front of a full crowd here at McLean Stadium. That will never get old saying that. But let's dive into a little bit about his first start, actually, was down in San Marcos. What did you guys see from him? Derek, we can start with you.
You can start with the numbers, Brooke. 15 of 24 for 148 yards. That really says to me that he was solid and that they didn't try to put too much on his shoulders. And, Seth, that's really what stood out to me. It's always nice in your first start. Not everyone can throw for 400-plus yards and 5 touchdowns and a half in their first start, but they didn't need him to do that. He had a lot of great teammates around him. I thought the line and the running game were big to kind of help him have a comfort level to know right away he didn't have to do it all by himself, but when they did put it on his shoulders, he was pretty solid. Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I think one of the big numbers that I look at on your first start is 0 interceptions. Right? I mean, that's knowing that he's making good decisions with the ball. Even if they weren't big numbers, right? Over 200, 300 yards passing, that's okay, right? Hey, let's get into a rhythm. Let's really get comfortable, figure out what he's good at, what he's not good at, right? Maybe he's not good at throwing the ball deep. We don't know yet, right? We're just going to try it out. The coaching staff is really figuring out what what Gary's comfortable with. He's got some stuff under his belt, so he's going to. They're probably laying off a little bit. Just hey, let's get comfortable with running what we wanted to run. And I think that showed up, last game, and hopefully we can open up maybe just a little bit more early on just to kind of test the waters a little bit and see where it kind of goes from there.
Well, talking about getting comfortable and settling in, we're all doing that with this new offense. RVO, that's a term short for reliable, violent offense. That's something that our new offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, brings to the table from BYU. They were nationally ranked in scoring 3rd, 7th in total offense. So to bring that offense here, and the way he describes it, Derek, is an attacking, formational offense, a few plays, a lot of different ways that causes just a lot of misdirection for the defense to have to decide. So when we hear that and we analyze this new offense with all of the different threats, it's pretty exciting to see what's possible.
It is, and you talk about forcing the action. You even see that with the way it's set up in the wide zone with the lineman on the move every play. It's kind of dramatic after what you're used to seeing, and that opens up holes for the running game. We're going to see more of that for Gary as well. So, Seth, I'm curious from your standpoint, what opportunities does the wide zone open up for the guys playing behind that line?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes the defense run, right? It can tire the defense down, makes them think a lot, and to kind of go back to what Brooke was saying of run a lot of different formations but a few plays. I like that. Starting off new offense, you don't want to throw the full playbook at a team that's trying to figure out what their strengths are. But with the wide zone, just got to make plays, make good decisions, get the ball out of your hand, and get the playmakers in space. And I think that's what they're going to be good at doing this year.
Well, one thing we really dove into last year is how important this offensive line truly is. The offensive line, there's a lot of different players at that position, different levels of depth, a couple of different transfers with Grant Miller and Jacob Gall already making an impact. But what we're seeing is them doing work up front and opening up the doors for running backs, Treston Ebner and Abram Smith. They had a pair, first time since 2018 season opener to have a pair of 100-yard rushers. And we got to talk about Treston Ebner. I mean, already we were talking about making history, setting records. To have him, be the first Baylor football player with 1,000 rushing yards as well as receiving yards, that's something special and something we have to celebrate. What are your thoughts?
It is. Well, you look at how many – we've had a lot of dual-threat running backs in years past, but for him to become the first one to do that at this level really stands out. And what really stands out to me is what a weapon he's been over the years. He is someone who I think you can look back at a couple of games. The Baylor doesn't win without him and his game-breaking ability. And for a young quarterback, that's got to be a real comfort level to have behind you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely having somebody like him that has a lot of experience, right? Just trust him, know he's going to make good decisions when he gets the ball in his hands, and get him the ball, right? I mean, he's proven time and time again that he's good in space. He's our kickoff returner. He's an all-around athlete, and any time you can get the ball in the athlete's hands and out of the quarterback's hands, hey, that's where it needs to be.
120 yards for Treston. As you said, Brooke, part of Baylor's rushing attack, 45 carries, 245 yards on the game. Pretty impressive. 200-yard backs in him and Abram.
I know. To have those two guys back there, and Abram has a unique story. Let's kind of take a minute to discuss that. When he first arrived, he was a running back. And then Coach Rule and that coaching staff looked at their situation and they said, we need some depth back at linebacker. And last year, we saw that depth be relied on as Terrell Bernard went down with that season-ending injury, and Abram Smith immediately stepped up and was making big plays on the defense. We all thought we would see him back there again this year, but then Coach Aranda came up to him and said, hey, how do you feel about coming back to running back? He said he had already added a little bit of weight to be more built like a linebacker, more built like Elliott Coffey over there. But, he's just a little bit bigger of a running back this year and said he's proud of it. And we're already seeing him in massive success, 100 yards over the top for that game against Texas State. Let's see what he has to say about this transition and truly coming full circle.
I never saw myself going back to running back until the day that, Coach Aranda had came up to me. I think it was after a walkthrough, came up to me and started asking me, like, you ever thought about playing running back again? And the thought actually never crossed my mind because, after playing that year, when Terrell went down, I just thought that was where I belonged. Any way that I can help my team win, it was kind of it's the big thing for me, Put me on the field, tell me what I need to do, give me a job, and I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities every time. So for it to all go complete circle and, I'm back at where I began, it's kind of crazy that I think about it. And I talked to my dad and my mom about it a bunch. And I guess you could say all my hard work that I put in on the practice field, put all that extra work in is actually finally paying off and being seen. So for them to actually look at me and know that they can put me anywhere on the field, I'm going to produce for them is actually, it's a great feeling.
Welcome back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. As you can see, we are all here because we have to talk about some big news. Yes, we saved it to the end because it's just that exciting. The Big 12 has expanded.
Yeah.
We are back. Well, we will be at actual 12, which is super exciting to be the Big 12 with actually 12 teams.
Yeah.
Those teams are BYU, Central Florida, Cincinnati, and Houston right here in the state of Texas. That's big news that just broke yesterday officially with those announcements coming from not only the Big 12 Conference, but also each individual school as they not only received but accepted those invitations to join the conference. I just want to kind of break down and hear what you guys' thoughts are. This is the first time, this is the 20th year, something like that, of the Big 12, and here we are already adjusting it. So to have the Big 12, that you guys played in, kind of shifting. What are your thoughts?
So to be fair, Seth and I played in different Big 12s.
Yeah.
And so I was old enough to have 12 teams in the conference when I got here. And so 4 of them ran my senior year. We brought in TCU and West Virginia, of course. And then now seeing this reshuffle with UT and OU going, I got to tell you, the regional matchups that we're looking at between having a Cincy and a West Virginia, having U of H back in the conference, a big market here in the state of Texas, of course keeping TCU and Tech in the picture. I'm excited at the prospect of what these games are going to look like. I got to tell you, next year, I think we got an away game in BYU, not technically a conference game yet.
I know. Well, right here, it's already homecoming.
It's already homecoming.
This year's
so
homecoming
there we
game's
go,
BYU.
right? So we're already going to get a taste of
Yeah.
it. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be good.
Well, and Houston ties right here. You live in the Houston area right now. You're from Houston.
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, yeah! You get to tease them every year when they're here, and then wear my green and gold down when I go to Houston every year when I eat at Turkey Leg Hut before the game.
There you
so I'm
go.
excited.
yeah, the same. I mean, I'm new to Houston, about 4 years now, but I mean, there's a huge support system down there, and I still wear my green and gold, pridefully down there, and even more now. So now that they're kind of joining together, it'll be it'll be fun to have that camaraderie or rivalry on both levels, even with people in the office and stuff like that. I've graduated from there, and some friends that I've made. So yeah, it's going to be exciting just for all the teams to join, right? I mean, I was kind of thinking that it may disperse. I know that's what a lot of thoughts were going towards. Like I said, all the Big 12 teams stuck together, figured it out, brought in some more teams, some really good teams on that, and I think it's just going to make the program in Big 12 that much better.
Well, as if things weren't crazy enough with everyone last year, we had a completely different looking football season. Thankfully, we got to play, but it looked totally different. And so this year, there was actually a lot of work in order to make it look normal again, and just, having guests on this show and being out here on Touchdown Alley, that's just a small example. But that was just one extra thing on Mac Rhodes, our athletic director's plate, as we tried to prepare for this season to get this news late in the summer. So I think it's really exciting as we go into this first home game to have that news broken, to know what this is going to look like. Derek, do you agree?
Absolutely. I think you go back about 6 weeks ago, I thought everything was kind of normal. And then the snow globe shook again, and all of a sudden we're looking at a new look Big 12. I'm just really impressed by the 8 that stuck together and that decided they were going to make this work. Everyone realizing that their best path forward was together. And I'm excited about what these new schools bring. All of them have had some real success, whether in recent years or historically. You've got a great brand in BYU. Yep. You've got Houston, who's been a really fantastic program in football, basketball, and other sports in a big metro area. UCF, I mean, they could be in a college football playoff if it had been 8 or 12 teams in past years. And then Cincinnati. It's going to open up a new state, a new region to the Big 12. And obviously they're a top 10 team in the nation right now. You look at some of these schools, they've had more success than some of the schools that are going to be exiting. I just think we got some really good growth options coming to the Big 12.
I like
just
that.
throwing that in there.
Little mic drop for you.
Yeah. But I agree. No, I agree with Derek's point there. If you look at the success that U of H and UCF have had on the field, the only thing that's held them out of the playoff is their conference affiliation. It's not the quality of play. It's not their ability to recruit or their ability to go out and win really big games. I think about U of H going out and beating Florida State in the Peach Bowl in 2015. You look at UCF and the different New Year's Six Bowls. I mean, if you want to talk about it, We played one that they won. And so both of those programs, and of course Cincy, you know, last year going out and playing pretty tough too. I think it was Georgia that they got in their bowl game. And so you saw a bunch of opportunities for guys that are going to be in our conference to go out and win really big games. And ultimately, that's what you want to have a strong conference.
You're going to see some hungry teams joining this conference, teams that are going to be excited to prove they belong here, and that their success in recent years is something they can build on. And I think it's going to make the Big 12 a lot of fun, bro.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's also exciting to say that with this expansion, we've got into 3 different new states. So that's new stadiums, that's new arenas, that's new experiences for the Baylor family as well as our athletes to kind of go out and explore this new Big 12. And something that Mac Rhodes also mentioned that's important for all of our fans to note is that this doesn't change the Power 5 status. It's still the Power 5 conference. And you know, same thing with the CFP, the College Football Playoff, with that same situation kind of remains. So that's important.
Yeah, and I think we didn't hit on it, but the recruiting. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to open up 3 more large areas to be able to go out and recruit and, you know, hopefully pull some players from those other teams as we play against them. That's going to be a huge kind of factor to dive into, and I'm sure the coaching staff has been pretty excited to jump into Utah and, you know, up around that area and just figure what that all looks like.
All right, well, that'll do it for us today from Touchdown Alley. Now we're going to send it upstairs 1 hour until kickoff. Bears against the Texas Southern.
This has been a presentation from Learfield,